So how did you know Tupac and Suge was in the black BMW?
He was hanging out the window.
Tupac?
Yeah.
What was he doing?
He had half his body out the window.
Duane Davis, aka Keefe D, is no stranger to speaking about what happened on September 7th, 1996. Unfamiliar with the date? Well, it's the day Tupac was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas.
So
Everybody
he wasn't
ain't
the
killers.
shooter.
Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't gonna kill.
So
Everybody
Dre,
ain't
he
with
wasn't
that.
the shooter?
No.
Okay, so but he was the one that was supposed to shoot up Tupac and Suge, but for some reason he wasn't ready for it, so he gave the gun to Orlando, right?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm Elizabeth Millner for Law&Crime. For years, Keefe D has been very vocal he was in Vegas the night Tupac was shot, and that he was riding in the car where the bullets came from. But now in a new interview, he's claiming he wasn't there that night, and he's innocent. Plus, he says he has witnesses to prove it.
He was hanging out the window. And we just came up on the gutter lane. It was like 13 cars. All of them was black, too. I guess Suge had a thing for black cars that night. So we went over on the side of them, and we seen him. And out there she wrote.
And I read in the book, you said that it looked like you guys rolled up and Pac reached.
Like he was reaching, yeah. It looked like he was ready to bust our ass. She like, we was the first one, shit.
Yeah.
Luckiest one, I guess. Hit that corner, gave a little chase, boom, boom, boom. He got the busing, we bust back. Jumped up out that motherfucker Cadillac, put the gun on the tire, got the on.
And Orlando is the shooter. He's the known shooter. I mean, everybody know Orlando Anderson was a shooter. So Dre got cold feet. He didn't want to do it. He gave the gun to Orlando, and Orlando shot Tupac and Suge.
Yeah, he did his thing, yeah.
But now in a new interview with ABC News, he's claiming he's innocent.
I'm innocent. I ain't killed nobody, never did, ever kill nobody.
And that part might be true. He's not accused of pulling the trigger. Instead, prosecutors allege he just orchestrated the whole thing. In some aspects, we may never know what truly happened, and here's why. Keefe D is the only one still alive that was allegedly in that car. Authorities have long believed it was Keefe D's nephew Orlando who pulled the trigger to get revenge from being jumped by Tupac, Suge Knight, and their crew after the Mike Tyson fight, which was the reason they were all in Vegas that night in the first place.
And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satiny shirt, along with Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson. Following this incident, you'll see hotel security intervene, and then they will leave the area of the fight.
It took years for investigators to piece it all together, mainly because of the street code. You know, no snitching, and no one talked for years. Well, until 2008, when Keefe D signed a deal with prosecutors and investigators to pretty much talk about everything he knew about the murder. But here's the thing. The exchange was that those statements couldn't be used against him in court. So you can imagine why Keefe D doesn't think he should be in jail right now. But he is and has been since September of 2023. In his interview with ABC News, he said just that, saying, "I'm not supposed to be in jail. A deal is a deal." Keefe D claims he confessed to his alleged role to keep people who were caught up in a drug case out of prison and says he just told police what they wanted to hear, so they let him go. He said that's the only way you're walking free. It would have been selfish to let everyone go down because of me. At the time, Keefe D was facing life in prison on drug charges, so he spilled his guts in exchange for a deal. Ironically, now he's facing life in prison again if he's convicted. Detectives essentially built their case around Keefe D's account of what happened. Plus, he's talked a lot in police interviews, public appearances, not to mention a self-published memoir, Compton Street Legend. But now Keefe D claims he didn't write that memoir or even read it. Kind of shocking given the back of the book says the last living eyewitness to Tupac's murder is telling his story. Keefe D claims his co-author took artistic liberties with the writing, telling ABC News, "I just gave him details of my life, and he went and did his little investigation and wrote the book on his own." He essentially claims he fabricated what happened for money when he told his story. Keefe D's trial was actually set to begin this month, until a few weeks ago when his lawyer filed a motion to delay his case. They claim they have witnesses who can testify Keefe D wasn't in Vegas the night of the shooting, despite claiming for years he was. Keefe D claims he was in LA when the shooting happened, and he has about 20 to 30 people who will testify to confirm that. But he didn't name any names. The now 61-year-old claims prosecutors essentially have nothing on him. In his interview, he said, "I did not do it. They have nothing. And they knew they don't have nothing. They can't even place me out here. They don't have no gun, no car, no Keefe D, no nothing." But Keefe D is pointing the finger at someone else with no evidence. Keefe D claims Reggie Wright Jr., a man who used to be a Compton police officer and ran security for Suge Knight's death row, was responsible for Tupac's death. Again, saying this with no evidence. Reggie Wright Jr. reportedly testified before the grand jury that indicted Keefe D. But now Keefe D claims the prosecution's lead witness should be the lead suspect. Reggie Wright Jr. has denied that accusation. He previously told ABC News, "I was in charge of possibly protecting this young man. It's heartbreaking to keep dragging in my name. I didn't have anything to do with that. One of the worst days of my life when I heard that happened." In Reggie Wright Jr.'s most recent statement about the claims Keefe D made, he says, Keefe D confessed to Tupac's murder to the LAPD in 2008, to the Las Vegas Metro PD in 2009, and publicly from 2018 to 2023 on BET, multiple YouTube interviews, and in a book about his life, and is only now using the media to slander me because he finally got arrested and he has no other defense. And it might be a defense tactic. Keefe D's lawyers have been pushing for him to get released on bond for months, but that didn't happen. Again, he was supposed to head a trial, but it was pushed, meaning Keefe D will spend more time in jail until he gets his day in court. Prior to him being arrested, though, he claimed he turned over a new leaf. He said he retired from the drug game and was enjoying his life with his children and grandchildren. He said, "I did everything they asked me to. Get new friends, stopped selling drugs. I stopped all that. I'm supposed to be out there enjoying my twilight at one of my effing grandson's football games and basketball games, enjoying life with my kids." Now Keefe D has much more to worry about, like his trial for first-degree murder. But it'll be a while before we know the outcome. Keefe D's trial was pushed from March of this year to February of next year. I'm joined now by criminal defense and civil rights attorney Tyler Bailey. Tyler, thank you so much for joining me today, and great to see you as well, too. What's your reaction to Keefe D speaking out in a TV interview, even as he awaits trial?
I don't think it was a good call for him. I think that he's gotten himself in a lot of trouble speaking too much from his book or whatever he put out there before he was actually charged, and now speaking to the media here. I just don't think it's going to go over well for him.
And do you think it was kind of a Hail Mary attempt to kind of gain public sympathy in a way? And are you surprised his lawyer even allowed him to give an interview?
Sometimes people forget that lawyers, we do actually work for our clients, and sometimes our clients want us to do something or they want to do something that we may disagree with. I think in this situation, it was a Hail Mary, and I think he feels like he's a good messenger. I don't know if it's a spotlight that he's intrigued by or if he thinks he can actually help his case. But I think he hurt his case by his demeanor. If they play those videos in the actual trial, this case, I don't think it's going to help him. It was a Hail Mary, and I don't think it was caught or received.
Yeah, because I can kind of see the prosecution team now just kind of playing those previous YouTube interviews and then kind of compare and contrast that to the ABC interview he just gave and seeing how a jury could kind of react to that. Definitely not doing any favors for Keefe D. And much of the meat of that ABC interview was Keefe D claiming that he's innocent. He claims he wasn't there in Vegas the night of the shooting. He claims he didn't even write or read the memoir where he said he was there in the car. What are your thoughts, given for years and years? He has said he was there. He was the one who passed his nephew the gun used to kill Tupac. And now he's just saying, I'm innocent. I'm not even there.
Real convenient to not be there now that he's actually facing charges for the murder of Tupac. And I don't think it helps him. Any juror who hears his case, they're going to think, well, he said he was there for years. He's been on YouTube saying he was there. Now that he's facing charges, he wasn't there. It doesn't help him. If he has a strong alibi, we'll see what happens. He'll need to corroborate that with more than just saying, I was not in Las Vegas the night that Tupac Shakur was killed, when he has said for years that he was there.
And it's surprising, too, because now he's saying that 20 or 30 people could testify he wasn't in Vegas the night of the shooting. But at the same time, he's not naming any type of names of who can corroborate that alibi, nor was that alibi even kind of brought into the picture, into the conversation, even until a couple weeks ago. So what's your reaction, again, to this kind of about face that Keefe D is doing, where now he's pulling 20, 30 people out of the woodworks, it feels like, just to kind of corroborate that he said, to corroborate his story that he wasn't there?
His defense has to do something. He's not just going to walk in there and plead guilty. I just think that him saying that 20 or 30 people can testify that he was in Los Angeles 30 years ago or so now, right? That's going to be hard. What 20 or 30 people are these people who are going to testify in this trial? Are they credible witnesses? And if he had a strong alibi, this would have been something that his defense would have brought to the prosecution early. in the case to try to nip things in the bud.
Yeah, you would think they would have brought it at one of his first bond or bail hearings, for that matter, too. And there's been a lot of controversy kind of surrounding the agreement Keefe D made with investigators back in 2008, that he would tell them everything he knew about what happened that night in Vegas in exchange that it wouldn't be used against him in court. And you can kind of argue there that that might be the reason that he's been just so vocal. But that was back in 2008. And he's given a lot of interviews since, admitting to him being there, him being in the car, him passing his nephew that weapon there. But what are your thoughts on that deal? And do you think it'll be an issue come trial?
Well, I don't think it's going to be an issue for the trial of this case because it probably would not be brought into evidence or allowed into evidence. The only thing that will be brought into evidence is going to be the facts of this case. And of course, things may be brought up on rebuttal by the defense. But regarding the proffer agreement, it's something that could come up during an appeal. So many may remember when Bill Cosby was convicted for the sex crimes that he was accused of committing. He, of course, vehemently denied that he did those, but his conviction was ultimately overturned because he himself entered into somewhat of a proffer agreement with the government. So this could help him out later on if he's convicted first. Then while he goes through the appeal process, it could be grounds for a new trial or maybe grounds for overall vacating of his conviction.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if it even gets to that point. That would be very a stunning development there. What do you think, as we're still awaiting for trial, but what do you think that the trial could look like? Do you think that prosecutors have enough to make their case, given that the murder was almost 30 years ago now?
It's going to be a difficult case for the prosecution because in cases like this, you're going to have people who don't remember things. You may have witnesses who also have criminal charges themselves. So it's really going to be who can present the cleanest case for the jurors to believe. I don't think Keefe D is the best witness. He's already given so many statements, so I'm pretty sure he'll take the stand at trial. He's going to open himself up for a lot of attacks. And then with his defense of having all these people who can testify towards his alibi, are they going to be credible witnesses? Are they going to check her past? Because the jurors are going to want to really figure out which side's the cleanest, which is the more logical outcome of what happened to Mr. Shakur that evening. And I can see them voting pretty easily for the prosecution here just by the length of time and all the statements by Keefe D and now his convenient amnesia so late in the game.
And do you think that a jury may be sympathetic towards Keefe D if he were to take the stand come trial? I mean, he's 61 years old now. Back then, obviously, minus 30 years ago, he was 31 around the time that Tupac was shot and killed. But now that he is older, now that he appears older as well, too, now that he has battled some health issues, he even had cancer. What do you think a jury do you think a jury will see this old Southside Crips Compton gang member if he were to take the stand?
Well, I don't think they're going to have sympathy to the fact that it's going to make them want to vote for a not guilty. Now, will the judge possibly have some mercy or sympathy when it comes down to any associated sentencing? Possibly. But, he's lived a life where he's gone on the record talking about this for years. And now he's going to show up before jurors saying he has an alibi, he didn't do it, and he's an old, retired gangster or man, and I don't think that's gonna fly well. I've seen young people get convicted. I've seen old people get convicted. At the end of the day, they're gonna listen to the facts and they're gonna be instructed on the law, and they're gonna have to make a decision, regardless if he's 85 years old or he's 25 years old.
And I can't help but also think, the victim here too, that being Tupac as well. And I know a lot of people clearly want justice for him throughout this ordeal as well too. As a criminal defense attorney, what are your thoughts about the defense's arguments now that they're kind of seemingly pointing the finger at somebody else being responsible for the murder? They claim that the former head of security for death row was behind it. They claim this with essentially no evidence, but that Reggie Wright Jr., the former head of security, denies that though. But what are your thoughts on that kind of claim from the defense where they're essentially feels like bringing it out of the woodworks again, but they have no evidence to kind of corroborate that, but they're pointing the finger and having Reggie Wright now come out and say, I didn't do this, I'm innocent.
Well, the defense has to make a mess here. And with this trial, I said earlier, that you could present the cleaner case. A lot of times when you have a messy case, the jurors will vote not guilty. You have, like I said earlier, people will check her past a long time since this murder happened. people may have different criminal records or be associated with different people. And as a defense lawyer, you want a messy case. You just want the jurors to have enough. If you know you don't have a clean case, right? If you know you don't have a clean alibi, somebody else did it. At least you got to do is kick up as much dust, and maybe the jurors going to say, I don't think they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt because this person may have did it. Maybe this alibi does pan out. Those are the things that the defense is going to want to try to put before the jury.
All right, Tyler Bailey, I appreciate your insight into this case. Before we sign you off, though, do you think that this will be the last that we're hearing of Keefe D giving interviews? And if so, hopefully he'll give one to us as well, too. But do you think this is the last TV interview that he'll give while he awaits trial?
I think that this looks like a situation where the lawyer may have lost control of his client, and his client thinks he can go on the record and he can present his case the best before camera. So don't be surprised if you see him on Law&Crime next.
Yes, and that is an open call. So Keefe D, if you are watching this, we'd love to have you on. We'd love to interview you, get your side of the story. But to you, Tyler Bailey, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your insight into this.